Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season finale of Kung Fu. Great season finale. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. First and foremost, this could be a series finale in its own right, but we'll talk about that more at the end. But first and foremost, we finally found out what Zhao is up to, because I was like, why do you need Delta's program, Matthew's program? I'm like, what good would that do you? Now we know it's like, oh, she's in her mind control bag and she's literally going to use this to basically amplify her power and give, because I was like, I figured there had to be something going on with that, because my theory was like, maybe she's trying to recreate the bloodline, because once again, the whole point was the bloodline went off and did its thing. It's like, well, you guys were a failure, I'm gonna start over. And I thought she was going to create like a new bloodline, but one that she could be in control of, which I guess technically is what's happening, but it's not even about collecting recreating bloodline. It's like, no, I'm not going to pass this power on to anyone else. It's going to stay with me. I'm going to be on my god level stuff, and I'm just going to basically control, not starting off with the city, but then eventually expanding to the world, because Delta was first going to obviously implement everything over the city of San Francisco and then kind of expand and go worldwide. That was kind of the ultimate goal that David had in mind, and even Matthew. But that's what Zhao's aiming for. So now the team has got to try and come up with a plan, because Jilon and Nikki were testing out their powers. Right. They still have all the martial arts skills, but that enhanced strength, their quicker recovery, and their more supernatural instincts that kind of flow through things, they no longer have that. So they are just regular kung fu fighters at this point in time. So now it's about figuring it all out. I even love the conversation that Althea and Ryan had too, where it's do you feel any different? Not really. It's because it was never as prevalent, the bloodline. It was still there, but it was never as prevalent in them as obviously it was Nikki. So now that they don't, it's right, I can't really miss something I never really had. I mean, it was probably there to some fraction of an extent, but who knows how much it really affected their everyday lives, because it was more potent in Nikki than it was anyone else. So. But I do love that Nikki ended up getting advice from Pei Ling like she always has. And I think it's also poetic in so many regards, especially how the episode plays out. But for Nikki, it's right, I know this isn't even the real you, Pei Ling, because I know where the real you is. I've let this memory of you guide me for so long, but I know where the real Pei Ling is. It's yes, but that's what I am memory. I am you. Everything, your Shifu, everything that I've passed on to you is there. You have everything you need. You don't need... who you are at your core is what's helped you save the world time and time again, and this is no different. Yes, Zhao may have all this power, but you are still you at the heart. You can find a way. And ultimately, Nikki does come up with a plan. It's right, we got to strike this from different angles. If we can save Pei Ling, because Pei Ling is how Zhao was able to come into this world in the first place. So we've all been trying to stop Zhao to save Pei Ling, but what if we save Pei Ling to stop Zhao? Because she's the core of all this. If we can save Pei Ling, that can severely weaken Zhao. And it's okay, so they've got a little bit of the fruit left, because apparently Sebastian ended up using more than he was supposed to. But it's who's to also say if he had used any less, would it have all worked out? Who knows? But I mean, it all worked out in the end. And even Ryan's it's kind of lucky that we didn't kind of overdose from it, but still it all worked out in the end. But it means they only have one shot. So when it does break later, I'm they weren't too concerned about it. It's well, we got to move on to plan B. Because Henry was able to use his compass abilities to find Pei Ling, and she was locked up in a cage, but she's getting weaker and weaker. That little spark that is Pei Ling is fading day by day, and it's only a matter of time before she's completely gone, and Zhao's kind of gotten rid of her completely. So they have to make a move now. If they can free Pei Ling, she can severely weaken Zhao, maybe evening the playing field to some extent. But the problem is, once again, she's on her mind control thing to the point, literally anyone can be an enemy. It's the fact of the matter is everyone at the bank, poor Matthew, it's I mean, and Zhao made it clear, like, oh yeah, I kill whoever I want to, whenever I need to, just because I can, because she's trying to make a point against Nikki. It's like, oh, you're letting people live, like, people are useful to you, but like, you keep them around me, like, once your use is done, I don't need you anymore. And so she basically had Matthew kill himself. Had Jilan and Nikki attacked by everyone in the bank, but and I think it's very poetic that at that point, now that she's kind of won, that's when she keeps her face. So she goes back to her face, like, I don't need Pei Ling's face anymore. So I guess it's just it's just more fun just to kind of rub their faces in it by having Pei Ling's face on. But now it's like, nah, I wonder, is there a reason why they did that? Or like, was it a scheduling thing, like the actress who actually plays Zhao? Like the fact that she didn't show up more often looking like Zhao? I wonder, is that a scheduling thing? Or is it just like no, it's meant to be like psychological warfare? On Zhao's part, because it's like, right, she's kind of got everything she needs now. So she got the satellites and she's positioning them. And so, and I do appreciate like everyone playing their role and their part in all of this. The fact is that I also love, like, because Althea's still in that middle ground trying to figure things out, and this episode kind of nudged her in the right direction, because she ended up finding out about Evan and Nadia, but it's like, he's like, how did you know? She's like, your parents kind of left a message on the business voicemail, but I'm sorry, congratulations, you're going to be a dad. And he's like, yeah, but with everything going on, like, I'm going to need your help more around the office. And she's like, yeah, of course. It's like, well, she knows she has that NSA thing hanging over her head, but in order to have all the equipment she needs and what she needs to stop Zhao's like control of the satellites, she made her deal with the NSA with some stipulations, of course, because now she's going to be working part-time with the NSA, but also part-time with Evan and Nadia. So that's still dope. It's like, I mean, I guess they recognize, like, right, you are so talented, so we are willing to give into your concessions. Because I'm like, man, I'm surprised. It's like, yeah, they're offering their jobs, but I'm like, I guess that just showcases just how good Althea is. Like, she's probably like one of the top class, like, hacking people. So it's like, they're not going to miss the opportunity to snatch her up while they have that opportunity. So it's like, right, we got to give you a few concessions, sure, not ask too many questions about why you need all this like high-tech stuff, you know. But it's like, yeah, she does her thing and she's fighting back against the guy that Zhao has, like, you know, fighting against her, trying to get the satellites in control. Henry's attacking on one front, using his powers to try and get the Pei Ling. He can't get the cage open because of like the sigils, but it's like, she can, the runes, you can. It's like, you have to fight back Pei Ling. You're the only one that can. So there's also, since we're on a topic too, like I something else I thought was kind of really neat. There was this kind of cute moment where like Mei Li was offering Jilan food, and she was like, oh no, I'm good. And Althea's like, oh, you don't really much of a, oh, she's like, no, I love sweets, it's just I have a nut allergy. And I was like, oh, I was curious, is that like just kind of like a neat, like, humanized, once again, it's like we've humanized Jilan like a lot this this season in particular, but I was like, oh, I'm wondering, is that a byproduct of like, that's just a character trait, like a little like, oh yeah, you think of her as like this cool like killer badass, and it's like, yeah, I have a nut allergy. It's kind of very similar to like spoilers for The Boys, but not really much of a spoiler, but yeah, you find out Black Noir has a nut allergy, and part of me wonders is, I mean, in this case, I wonder, I hope I'm not butchering her name. I think it's Yvonne. I think Yvonne Chapman. She's the actress who plays Jilan. I'm wondering, is that kind of supposed to be a thing of like, oh, like, is that supposed to be like more like the actress coming through? Then like, that's kind of a play on like, oh, like Yvonne has like she has a sweet, really big sweet tooth, but it has another. I wonder if that's what that is, or is that just kind of supposed to be like a little character trait about Jilan that the writers just want to implant? But I think it'd be neat, you know, if it ended up being kind of something she shares with the actress who played, you know. So I thought, but I'm probably reading too much into that. I also appreciate kind of on the same line too, like her giving Nikki dating advice. It's like, yeah, Dimples obviously loves you, you love him. Like, why aren't you guys doing it? And he's like, really? You're giving me relationship advice? She's like, all right. You know, it's like, what Nikki still appreciated, but you could tell Nikki was kind of like, wow, I can't believe I'm getting dating advice from my once sworn enemy. And it's like, yeah, she's become part of the fam now. I thought that was really cute. As I also sad too, because you were reminded, like, yeah, her love life situation sadly didn't work out. You know, everything between her and Carwin. It's like on multiple fronts, not just obviously when she slit his throat in season 1, but also like obviously just everything his dad in season 2. So and just how that played out. But either way, I did like this kind of being this battle on multiple fronts and kind of almost a battle of attrition, because it's like, yeah, Zhao has all the powers, but she ends up being spread so thin because she's got to deal with Henry trying to get to Pei Ling, so you got to fight on that front. And because I love that was almost like this in, Night of the Living Dead moment where it's like, right, she's got all these mind control cops. They're like nailing, like, they're like, putting up boards to kind of block the house, and Jilan's there with the family trying to hold things down, especially with Althea doing her thing upstairs hacking. Then you had Sebastian and Evan guarding Henry, and then you had like the showdown itself between Nikki and Zhao. Just needlessly killed everyone like that was under her control, because it's like, I don't need you anymore. It's like, I mean, because she was already kind of like, she didn't think about it at the time, but she was obviously already spreading herself thin. But it's like, all right, I don't need you anymore. I'm getting the satellites back. I guess it's like, right. He did enough to kind of put, I guess, enough of the satellites in on. So it's like, all right, I'm gonna deal with Nikki, and then I won't have to. Then I'll make sure I've already got people sent towards her house. So kill her sister, do all that, then I can have like the satellites under my control. It's like, yeah, you kill the person who work. I guess it's like everything's gonna work automatically. Like he's got everything kind of set up. So I guess she's more so focused on killing everyone else. But it's like, yeah, like you're not a warrior anymore. Like, oh, your connections make you weak. She's like, here I am. I'm strong alone. It's like she makes it seem like, oh yeah, the emperor. It's like, well, maybe the emperor did screw you over. And she even talks about like, yeah, I'll never be satisfied or happy, but who cares? Like, I'll be powerful. And it's like she's trying to fill some ancient void in herself that she's just what she believes is rightfully hers. Like what was the opportunities that were taken away from her. I mean, obviously, like the running kind of things in the source realm, even then she wasn't really running things. It gave her an opportunity. It was kind of like a stepping stone, because it's like, all right, this is where, I mean, this ambition, like who knows what Zhao was before? Maybe, I mean, experiments and stuff like that. She was never a great person, but you never know what path someone takes and how it can turn them. And it's like she became obsessed with power, and it corrupts absolutely, so. But once again, Nikki's not alone. There's fights on every front, and Zhao is spreading herself too thin, but like the family is holding it down at the house. Everyone's putting in work, But what I thought was so beautifully done is when Pei Ling finally gets free of Zhao, and her and Nikki, that cut back and forth. I was like, oh, that was like so beautifully done, because it's just in this moment. Shifu and Student are in sync. Their movements of both of them striking Zhao on both fronts, inside of her mind and in the physical world. And like I said, like Pei Ling and Nikki's moves being in sync, I thought that was so beautiful, because it's like, I think, it's symbolic ultimately, I think, of, right, you've learned everything I could have taught you. It's done. Like the fact is, the student has become the master, and it's your time to shine now. And so luckily they were able to take Zhao down. But for Pei Ling, it's like she's back now, but it won't be forever, because sadly Zhao is immortal, and there's no getting rid of her. And it's like, right, unless because her tie to this world is Pei Ling, and as long as Pei Ling's alive, Zhao will always be able to come back. And for Pei Ling, it's like, this is bigger than just me, It is always, it's that complicated conversation that, a parallel would be like in Avengers of like, right, we don't sacrifice anyone. And in this case, Pei Ling is like, no, this is the only way everyone's souls are going to be free. Like, Mia's trapped in here, as well as everyone from the source realm, and like all the warrior and guardian bloodlines, they're all here, and the only way they'll know peace, the only way I will know peace, is if it ends up being Nikki that has to kill her. And it's like, for Pei Ling too, it's like, I cherish the time I got. Like, I got this second chance, and I will always be grateful for the borrowed time I was given, but allow me to finally find peace. It's like, right, she was trapped in the source realm of everyone else, but now we get to just be free, because that world no longer exists. We get to whatever's next they get to go to, all of them. And obviously, it's a lot to ask of Nikki, but it's like, this is the only way you can protect the world. You can protect everyone. This is the only way to stop Zhao. And it's like, do it for me so I can finally have peace as well. So, and that's why I'm saying, like, it's so poetic that she saw Pei Ling in her memories one last time, too. So I don't know if that's implying, like, this is the last time she'll ever see her master in her memories, but it's like, I think it will be symbolic because, like, now I'm at peace, so that part of it, but like, because everything I've taught you is there, you no longer need me because all my teaching are passed on to you. And once again, like I said, the student has become the master, and it's kind of on her now, you know. And sadly, Jilan didn't get that last goodbye with her sister. And I was curious how Jilan was going to react, but it's like she understood the situation. It was the only way to save everyone, you know. And for Jilan, it's just like, yeah, here's the world still taken from me. Like, the world's now, I'm never going to make up for all the terrible stuff I've done. It's like the world's just going to find a way to keep punishing me. And even Nikki's like, I don't know if you'll understand. She's like, I don't even know if I'll ever completely understand, but we saved Pei Ling, you saved Pei Ling, and for Jilan is like, if that's the case, then why isn't she here? Because she said it before. I want to say maybe last episode, even the episode before last might have been. She said that saving Pei Ling is her only. That's the only reason why she's alive right now. It's like she was given a second chance. You know, after everything that went down, it's like, I'm the only one that's here. Yes, Mia's free, Simon's free, everyone, including their mom. So Pei Ling is most likely reunited with their mom now, and Mia's reunited with her mom. So. But it's still the thing of, like, Jilan's like, I'm the only one left. Because for her, keeping Pei Ling alive was her way to make up for her mistakes. But also, her sister kind of forgave her. It's like, it's okay. You don't have to carry that burden. But it still stays with Jilan. It's like, this is my opportunity to make up for our distant history. For me killing, like, I could have... for her, she feels like she could never make things right. She's never going to be able to fully make up for what she's done. And so she leaves. And it's like, Jilan doesn't know where she's going to go next. Obviously, she'll always have, a place with the Shin family, but she's got to figure things out for her own. Because Jilan's the only one we don't know what ended up happening to her at the end. Like, everyone else, you know, we kind of skip to, like, a week or so later, maybe. And, you know, we're picking up with everybody. It might even been like a month or something like that, but we're picking up the Shin family. Everyone's doing good. Now it's like Nikki's got to figure out what's next, because it's like, right, she was the city's hero for so long, but now it's like, well, her role as kind of the warrior's kind of done. They didn't really go into it, but I can only assume, like, the powers of the bloodline potentially returned to them. They didn't really make a point of that, so we don't know. But it's like, for Nikki, it's like, yeah, San Francisco doesn't really need her as its protector anymore because it's got everyone here. It's like, it's already got its own hero, so it doesn't really need me. So figuring out what's next. It's like, oh, yeah, Mom, I know you want me to, like, have a career, but her mom's like, yeah, like, I think back to the time when I wanted to kind of take away that destiny, what you were destined to be, and look at who you've become, and it's like, it's kind of up to her now to decide what's next. You know, there's a large world out, so it's like, it sounds like her mom's giving her permission. And I thought that was so full circle, because Nikki kind of ran off on her own. Her family had no idea. Now her family's full, they're whole again, and now it's like her mom giving her permission, like, go out there, see the world. There's so much of the world out there that you can find what's next for you. So her and Henry rekindle things, but Henry's got a job with the Wanzai, but we don't know what that mission was. If it was like, whatever it was enough to, like, end his debt with them potentially. So, but him and Nick are going to be going their separate ways. But it's like, right, the world, like, you know, we found our way to each other before. Like, we were brought back together, so we'll be brought back together again. Like, Henry's, like, not too worried about them going their separate ways right now. So we skip, like, 5 months later and kind of catch up with everything. Althea, with her job at the NSA, has been going good. Obviously, her and Dennis kind of probably have to kind of continue their adjustment period for that, because they're finally got their own place. Dennis showing off at the bar, like, you know, him killing it with the bottles. Obviously, things are working out great for Evan and Nadia. She eventually gives birth to their daughter. Maylee and Sebastian are having a great time with the food trucks, the warrior walks. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. Once again, I guess we are done with like the harmony dump. That's why I was so like, once again, it's that thing of like, man, God, I'm blanking on it. Once again, Kim Roach's character, I kept being like, yeah, what's up with that? And it's like, oh, I guess it's just that storyline played out the way it is. She seemed so suspicious. And I was like, but it's like, I guess you turned out to be okay. I mean, it all worked out in the end, and Maylee is happy. Her family's happy. Jen is balancing everything out as, the politician that he is, trying to, help out as many people. And it's like, right, every member of the family is kind of off doing their thing, attacking this from their respective angles. And I thought that was beautiful. Even like them all kind of on the same like group chat or group message of just like, oh yeah, like here's pictures of Evan and Nadia's baby, and it's like, it's nice. And we find Nikki just doing her thing. It's like, wait, do you go from all over the world helping people, saving the day? And Nikki's kind of like, yeah, it is. And that message, like that final voiceover from Paling saying like, right, this is one end, this is the ending, this is an ending, but it's also a beginning. And I thought that was beautiful. Because if I'm not mistaken, because I'm not well versed in the original David Carradine series, but I want to say that was the main story, was like every episode he was going to like a different village helping out. It was like one situation happening. Obviously, she said allocated to San Francisco. Obviously, some world travel, a little bit here and there throughout the series, but this is her doing a lot of like world touring around of helping out. So that's where I'm implying like this could be a series finale, because I looked it up. Usually I try to look it up after the fact, just because I want to get all my thoughts out without me really having to think about like, oh, whether or not something's coming back for another season or not. Well, at the time of me recording this, it's unclear whether or not there's going to be a 4th season of Kung Fu. And I was saying like, this could be a beautiful series finale. Like everything is kind of wrapped up. Yes, we never found out about Jilon. There is still the bow of it all. That's where I'm like, there's still room for at least one more story. I mean, there's room for plenty of stories, but I'm saying like, this is how I'm feeling about it. If they decide to end things here, I'd be satisfied with that. That's why I'm curious, did the writers write this like this because they were unsure whether or not they were going to get a 4th season or not? So like, in case we don't, let's give the show a proper ending. Or would it be kind of one of those things where, because I know the original series was 2 different series. It was like Kung Fu and then Kung Fu, the story continues or something like that. So it's almost like a new era has started. So if there is a new season, I could see it being like, oh yeah, this is a new era. But my only concern about a new season, like I want the show to continue, but I'd be too scared that like, yeah, if this show got renewed for a 4th season, that they'd end up canceling afterwards. Now, if you go into it being like, this next season's the final season, that's also that complicated thing. Because it's almost like I'll give you a great example. Like Once Upon a Time, like, don't get it twisted. Once Upon a Time, to me, I love that series finale, but it's like, yeah, they weren't fully going into that final season expecting it to be the final season, because season 6 could have actually been the end, but they got renewed for a 7th season, and it's like, hey, they set up that story at the end of season 6, so season 6's finale most of that finale could have been the end, but it wasn't, and they got one more season. So it's almost like something like that. But at very least go into if this show does come back for a 4th season, I would want it to come back for a final season, because I don't want to take the chance that it's like, yeah, it comes back for a 4th season, and then it's like, yeah, the show canceled, it's not getting a 5th season, because it feels like this, once again, it's a new era. But you can kind of play into that where Nikki comes back, maybe it's kind of another adjustment period of just like everyone's lives being what they are, and once again catch up with Jilon. And I could see the bow thing being like a big like final season thing. I don't know. That's why I'm like, because that's the biggest thing that is unresolved. Also, like, I talked about it a little earlier, I didn't really get into it. It's like, it is kind of sad to know Mia is dead. It's like, I was kind of hoping that maybe she could come back, but it's like, well, she did die. Regardless of Zhao taking her soul, it's like, she still did die. It's like, that is kind of heartbreaking that things turned out that way. But the bow angle of it all is still left open. Like, the fact is that feels like that major plot thread in some regards, but once again, it is kind of in a different world, but it feels like that's so crucial and important. But they didn't really set anything up. They kind of left things. Once again, I think they were setting the stage for this potentially being a final season, in a series finale, and they don't get renewed. So, like I said, I'd be bummed, a little heartbroken, to kind of have to say goodbye to the show, if we don't get another season. But I'm also like, that's to me. I want everything. It's like, this is a beautiful series finale in its own regard, if they need it to be one. So that's why I'm like, I'm so conflicted, because I'm like, I want more of the show, but if they were to end the show here, I'd also be heavily satisfied. So I don't know. We'll ultimately have to keep an eye out and see ultimately what ends up happening with the CW, whether they decide to end this series or not. If this is the end, just on the off chance that it is, thank you to everyone in front of the camera, behind the camera, cast and crew, for making it a great show. This, as someone who's not that familiar with the original series, obviously I have no connection to the original series. I've enjoyed and loved this journey. It's been action packed. It's been there's been tears, there's been laughs, there's been just a lot of dope action, and it's been a wild and beautiful and awesome, basically superhero series without the superhero element to it, so it's still superhero in its own right. So like I said, if this is the end, I wish everyone associated with the show the best in their future endeavors. And like I said, if it's not, then I'll be happy to see this journey continue, like I said. But if it does continue, I'd prefer they went into it knowing that next season would be the end. So once again, we'll just see how everything plays out. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.